Hi, welcome. My name is Stu McLaren, co-founder of WishList Member, and I'm joined here today with Chris Guillebeau, author of the brand new book, $100 Startup. Now, this book is perfect for anybody looking to start their own business or anybody looking for the freedom of owning their own business. We're certainly going to talk about that. This interview, though, we're definitely going to put more of a focus on how this applies to people wanting to run membership sites. Now, the great news is Chris has got a lot of experience running membership sites, and so we're going to take the knowledge from the book and we're going to apply it to membership sites. So, Chris, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, one of the things that I want to know is, where did the inspiration for the book come from?
Well, the inspiration largely came from traveling the world and meeting all kinds of fun people who had started all kinds of unconventional little businesses. I wrote a previous book, The Art of Nonconformity, and then I did this tour. I went to every U.S. state and every Canadian province.
You travel a lot.
Travel a lot, and then I do about 20 countries a year. And then just through my own community, I often hear stories of people who started fun little businesses, often membership sites, but sometimes other things too.
And to give the audience a bit of a background, you do have a very rich travel history. I mean, we were just talking on the way here. You have traveled to every single country but 8 in the world. I mean, that is staggering. So you've definitely had a lot of life experiences, definitely seen a lot of entrepreneurial ventures. And so the one thing that I love about this book is chock full of great examples of that. What for you were some examples that really stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many, and I wanted to just provide like a diverse set, of case studies and examples, and to say like anybody can do this in their own way, not just one story, but from all over the world. So we had actually 1,500 submissions.
Wow.
And then we kind of narrowed that down to like 70 stories that we focused on in the book.
And you had a specific criteria, right?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, it had to make at least $50,000 a year in net income. And some of the businesses were multiple six-figure or more, but at least 50,000. Full financial disclosure. You had to be willing to talk all about the finances of your business. You had to operate the business with fewer than 5 employees. So it's mostly solopreneurs and people like myself just kind of running their own show. No special skills. Basically, you're using the skills that you already have to kind of build a business on it. So that's kind of what we started with.
And that's one of the things that I love about the examples is that anybody, anywhere, who is thinking about starting a business could see themselves in these examples, can see themselves in these stories, because they're really real people. It's not venture funded where they're getting all this money. These are real people bootstrapping with an idea and then growing it from there.
Right, and I think it's actually better, to not have the funding. I think like the funding in some ways can be a handicap, and the whole like search for funding and the whole focus on...
How so?
Like people often who are kind of searching for venture capital, the whole business is built on this goal of getting funded. It's not so much on creating a sustainable business model. It's not so much on creating something that's actually like useful and helpful to the world. And maybe in some ways it could be,
Right.
But a lot of them, the whole focus is different than all the people I talked to for this book. And their focus was, I want to create freedom for myself. I want to create some security for myself and my family. I either want to quit my job or I want to, continue the day job, but I want to have something on the side that's bringing me additional income. And I want to make the world a better place. I actually want to make something that's useful. It's something that, other people value, just like what you guys do.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I was sharing with you off camera how I'm really passionate about this book, because I see myself very much in the examples here. I live in a very small town, population less than 6,000 people. We're out in the middle of nowhere, but we have an internet connection.
Wow.
And with an internet connection, you can reach anybody in the world, and that's what so many of these people have done, where they've created businesses around things that they love to do, and therefore serving and providing value to people all around the world.
Right. You probably use more internet than anyone else in your town, I imagine. You're probably responsible for bringing the internet to your town.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk about how a lot of your principles in the book apply to people with membership sites on. And one of the things that stood out for me in the book was you're talking about people starting businesses where they have a passion, but there was also another important criteria that made those businesses successful. Can you talk to us about that other criteria?
Yeah, sure. And first of all, I'd say I think membership sites are a great business model. And I talked about them a little bit in the book and just said, like, any way you can get paid more than once, especially for the same thing or an ongoing service, it's fantastic. So I think people that are already going down that path are going down the right path. Now, as for passion, there's this whole concept of like follow your passion. It's one of the most overused phrases, especially in online marketing. And it's tricky because a lot of people who are successful, like what you've done, what I've done, like we are passionate about what we do. We love what we do.
Right.
But I think the additional ingredient is we're not only passionate about something for our own devices or passionate for our own interests, but we've found a way to make something that's useful. So the missing component, in a lot of these projects is usefulness. And so everybody who's in the book, everyone who's created this successful business, earning at least $50,000 a year, many of them much more, they've done something that they love, but they've found a way to really focus on how are other people going to use this? How is it going to improve someone's life? How is it going to help someone? And when you find that overlap, we call it convergence in the book. Here's your passion, here's your skills, here's what other people also value. What's the overlapping point between these two? That's where a lot of really successful businesses come from.
So I'd like to share a couple examples to give people some perspective on that. One of them that stands out because I'm an Evernote user myself. Great. So the Evernote example really stood out for me. And so can you share with everybody the example in the book?
Yep, great story. This is from Brett Kelly, who lives in Southern California. And Brett is a self-described geek. He's gone nuts over various, software. He loves Evernote.
So the geeks in the audience are giving him a virtual high five.
Right. And what Brett noticed about a year and a half ago now, I think, is that there was no English language software manual for Evernote. So Evernote's cool. You can just use it right away. But if you want to really, dive into it, there's lots of little tips and tactics and things. So Brett spent about a month and compiled all of his advice, got lots of screenshots, put together an ebook. He priced that ebook for about $25. And Brett's hope and dream with this project is that it would make about $10,000.
Right.
His hope and dream was that this project would allow them to pay off some debt. He had no plans for anything else. So that project came out within 2 days. He had made the $10,000. And then, and then things slowed down a little bit, but they kind of plateaued at the $300 a day point for a long time.
Man.
So the long story short is, a year and a half later, this project has now produced more than $150,000, in income for Brett.
That's awesome.
And so 2 points about that. One, $150,000 from an ebook, incredible, But what Brett talks about is the freedom that this, has brought to his family. So his wife, Joanna, was able to quit her job. She stays home with the kids. Now Brett works at home. So he combined passion with something that's useful. People this project really helps people. They buy the ebook. They learn how to use Evernote. It's a great example.
It is a great example because it's a built-in market. There's millions of people using Evernote, and there are people that use it to a much higher degree. And I've picked up a number of tips and tricks. And again, it's not a commercial for Evernote, but it's a great tool. But again, it's somebody going deeper. They're passionate about the software. They probably had people. Brett probably could testify that he had people asking him questions because he knew so much about it. And that's a good indicator.
Yes, it's a very good indicator. People often say I have no idea what kind of project I would do, and I have all these different passions. And I always say what do people ask you about? When they ask you frequently about certain topics, it shows that you are a perceived authority.
Yeah.
They trust your judgment, and then it also shows there's a demand for this kind of information. There's another story in the book. This guy Gary Leff, who started a business about frequent flyer miles and helping people book award tickets. Gary is a CFO. He has a day job at a university. He's just always been very passionate about travel, and he started this service a couple of years ago, just saying if you need some help booking your tickets, this is a free service, but you could do this for free on your own. But he's if you want, you can hire me to do this for you, $250 for each itinerary. So again, long story short, 2 years on, this project now brings in more than $100,000 a year.
Man.
He spends about an hour a day working on this project. He still has the day job. He says, I'm relatively happy there. I go there because I want to go there, not because I have to.
Right.
And if things ever changed, I could just leave that behind because I have this. So again, passion and usefulness.
And the thing that I want to emphasize here for everybody is that usefulness component, because you can be really passionate about pink bunnies, for example. Yeah. But really, are people going to pay you to help them, I don't know, breed pink bunnies or whatever?
Maybe there's a market there. I don't know, but
Maybe.
I always say video games. I don't know if you ever played games, but I used to be a big video gamer, and I was really passionate about playing Halo. But no one ever came along and said, here's a check,
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very good point. So let's build off of that, because one of the things that you mentioned was the example with the frequent flyer miles, somebody building a business around something that is already available for free. So one of the common things that people ask when it comes to membership sites is, well, why would somebody pay me for information that is readily available all over the internet? What would your response be to that?
Well, I'd say it's a great question, but I would say people pay all the time for all kinds of information, and most information is free in one way or another.
Yep.
But yet, there's still a convenience factor. People still buy newspapers, and you can read the news for free. People still pay for music, even though you can listen to Pandora or Spotify or whatever. You know, so it's really a convenience factor. I mean, Brett's Evernote ebook is a good example.
Yep.
Yeah, you can learn all this stuff on your own, or you could just pay $25 and get it, you know, downloaded to you immediately. You know, the frequent flyer thing. Sure, you can do it on your own, but this guy's an expert. He's going to put together something that's probably better for you than what you could do on your own.
Yep.
You know, so people will always pay for information.
And I think that's the big lesson that I hope everybody takes away is the convenience. You know, anytime you can save people money, save people time, that's a really good formula for a usefulness area that you could venture into.
Yes, and it also relates to happiness, essentially. You know, like in every micro business that we looked at, in one way or another, like they're improving people's lives, you know, either by adding something positive or removing something negative. So, you know, if you can provide that service and make people's lives easier, it's going to make them happier, and therefore, you know, you can get paid through it.
And I just have a personal example. It's not in the book, but, you know, to demonstrate, my wife and I are terrible cooks. We cannot cook, you know, if our life depended on it. But one of the things that I discovered recently, there was a membership site where they provided you the shopping list of all the ingredients that you needed for the week, and they gave recipes for every day of the week. It was perfect. And
made your life easier.
Made our life easier because totally, because we didn't have to think about what we needed to buy. We didn't have to think about what we needed to cook. We just followed the instructions, and it was easy.
Yeah, you could have received these recipes on your own. You could have done all this planning, but then, you know,
there's tons of stuff on YouTube available for free, but this just had it all laid out, and it was convenient.
So it brought a big benefit.
So free, it doesn't matter if there's information for free, because people want, they don't want to have to sort through the hundreds, thousands of websites that you know, are available on Google. They just want to be able to go to one place, get what they need, and be able to do it in a timely fashion. What do you think separates the people from in the book who actually get up and start the business versus those who think about doing the business?
Yeah, great question. A couple of things, and I think I would divide it into like mindset and then, you know, action. And so in mindset, I think a lot of these people are curious people. They're asking questions. They're kind of, you know, pursuing things. They're interested in how things work, and they're interested in decoding things. Brett saw that there was no Evernote resource, so he created one. You know, Natalie saw there was no good resource for raw foods information, so she created it. And then the second thing, probably even more important, is just the taking of action, right? So a bias toward action as opposed to a bias toward planning. So the traditional method of starting a business was like you write a 60-page business plan that no one's ever going to read or follow, right? You spend like months and months, like, you know, preparing for something that may completely change or an unproven concept, and you have to borrow money from the, you know, all this kind of stuff. And so a lot of these people, they had a bias towards starting their business within 30 days or less and getting it out there and testing it and seeing what happens and then responding and then just going forward with that.
That's another reason why I love the internet. You know, recently, one of our customers who just did a complete redesign of his membership site, and his subscriptions dropped quite a bit, significantly. Wow. And so he asked for my advice, and so we spent some time together. We looked at, you know, how he had the site laid out and where his call to actions were and things. And that evening he made some tweaks, and so we went live with the new tweaks at 6 p.m. And by 2 p.m. the next day, he had already tripled, you know, his signups. And to me, that is just one of the amazing things about the internet. You can make change and you can immediately see the results of that. And it's a testament to what you're saying is, listen, just get it going, because you can always tweak and modify from that point forward, because things happen so quickly now. Right,
and if you don't spend a lot of money getting it going, if you use the skills that you already have, then you don't have much risk, because people often ask about risk and failure, like, well, just get it started. It doesn't take much, you know? And the other thing that's great about the internet is the ability to connect with people based on shared ideals or shared values, shared worldview. I mean, this is totally new. Like now you can actually be into pink bunnies, perhaps, and there's somebody else out there in some other crazy random town, you know, somewhere else, and they're also interested in the same stuff. You can connect with them, just like immediately.
And I want to build on that, because you have done a phenomenal job of building your community. You have passion for traveling, and there's a whole group of people, myself included, who subscribe to your travel hacking practices. And you've also built a whole culture around, you know, a lot of the principles that you talk about on your blog. So I want to talk to you about how have you gone about building your community and your following?
Yeah, great question. For me, it was almost entirely organic. You know, from the beginning, I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know, like, how does that work? How does one become a writer? How does one write a book, you know? I just started sharing my experiences. And I first started writing about visiting every country in the world. And then I realized pretty quickly, like, okay, that was somewhat interesting to some people, but it's like what we were talking about, usefulness. How does that really help people? You know, how does that help Stu in Toronto? Maybe he reads it and he's like, oh, that's cool, but, you know, So I guess, probably in that first year, I really started focusing much more on like focusing externally and focusing on, okay, what needs can I meet? Like what solutions can I provide? And then just kind of taking things seriously. And, I had a publishing schedule and I said, I'm going to put these posts out on certain days. I'm never going to miss those days, 4 years and counting. I got a streak going.
Right.
Then I started doing meetups, and that was also really good because I met people and I could see like, okay, this is not just like an avatar. This is not just like a commenter, on the screen. It's a real person, and then just keeping in touch with people one-on-one. And I call it the small army approach, the small army of remarkable people.
Yeah.
So now I've been on book tour, and like I meet my readers, and I see some that I've seen before, and it's just like a whole continuous circle.
And this is one thing that I think is really unique when it comes to the online world, is that you have actually chose to meet and connect with people offline. And that's a whole new dimension, and there's a much deeper connection there when you actually see somebody, shake their hands, get to talk to them. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think people starting membership sites tend to shy away from that, but it can actually increase deepen the relationship with your members.
Definitely, I think for two reasons. One, I'm trying to build a career here, and I'm in it for the long term. And for your customers, the same holds true. Like, don't underestimate, the value of those relationships. And when I did the 50-state book tour, the 10-province book tour, like I would go to New Brunswick or North Dakota, and there weren't a lot of people there, but it was kind of a big deal. Like nobody goes there, and that was fun. And then also, later I could think about those people when I would do my writing or work on the projects. And this whole book came out of this experience, like I would think about, I was like, okay, now I know Stu's reading, like I can't just phone it in. I got to do a good job here. It's just really good to keep this in mind.
How do you create engagement on your blog? Because you have a very passionate community. People are commenting all the time. They're involved in your writing. They are living through your experiences. What advice would you give to increase, for people who wanting to increase interaction on their membership sites?
I think it starts with building direct connection, as we started. If at all possible, communicate with every customer you have, with every blog reader you have, at least in the beginning. Maybe as things grow and scale, you have to adjust that. But if at all possible, don't have barriers, between yourself and those people. Then as things grow, maybe encourage questions, like, hey, I need your help with this. What would you suggest? Or here's a situation I like your advice on. Make things fun. Contests are always great. Contests and giveaways. Like, one of the things I said in the book was I was surprised at how excited people get over simple giveaways. Like I give away a book that costs $15 and get like 1,000 comments.
Right.
And I'm always like, what's the last guy thinking? Yeah. Like, when he comments, I'm like, dude, like it's $15. But people just get excited about kind of stuff like that.
Right.
Give people something to believe in, something to participate in, and like, a challenge. People like that.
And you've done a great job of that. You've evolved your community to the live event that you have, the World Domination Summit. And what a title, by the way. And
people either love it or hate it.
Yeah. Well, and you were saying last year was your first time doing it, and it was very, very successful. This year you've got a lot more people. And but again, it's another great example of you've built a community of people who are passionate about the subject matter, and now you're bringing them together in a live format and allowing them to connect with each other as well. And I think that's important. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. And I would say that's one of the big secrets about it is as much as possible, I'm trying not to build like a personality brand based on me. I'm trying to encourage and facilitate conversation. And a lot of the people who come to these events, whether the book tour thing or World Domination Summit, they come to see each other. Right. They've seen each other before. They come to connect, or they're from small towns, where they use all the internet or whatever, and and they come and they meet other people like them. They're like, oh, like maybe my family doesn't. There's no one else in my family who has an unconventional work history, or no one else is an entrepreneur, or no one else has traveled. But then I come and like I can meet other people. So that's a big part of it.
Definitely. So you also have membership sites, and what advice would you give based on your experience running membership sites for somebody who's looking to start one?
I think it's really important with the membership site to have a very clear benefit. I think maybe even more so than with other products, because there is some resistance, I think, in the consumer mindset. Like if I sign up to a membership site, they're going to have my credit card, they're going to bill me every month. So I think you have to really have a clear benefit. What am I going to get with this, So I talk in the book about like making the ultimate offer. How can you make them an offer they can't refuse? There's a story about this guy in Alaska who created this coupon book, and he sells it for $100, but the coupon book is actually useful. like most coupon books aren't, right? But his coupon book is like, you can use one of these coupons and you'll literally like save $150 off your hotel room, or you can like really get like a 2-for-1 deal that's actually useful.
So they see the benefit right away.
Right away, you know, an offer you can't refuse. So the more clear the offer, the more clear the benefit. If there's a refund policy or a cancel, make that easy. Like we try to have a no pain in the ass cancellation policy. Like if you want to leave, you just click a button. You don't have to like call me. You don't have to like wait on hold. You don't have to explain. You just opt out. And I think that helps kind of reassure some objections.
And I think too, it also, because we've seen in our experience as well with membership sites that, you know, when you make it easy like that, the person may go for a month or two, but because they've had a great experience, they may come back, you know, and I think that's another thing that people often lose sight of with membership sites is just because a person leaves doesn't mean they're gone forever, you know, and if you create a good experience and the member has gotten value in the past, they may come back, and there's many examples of where that's happened.
That's great. Or they may tell somebody else about it, you know, or they may come and purchase something else from you, you know, if you also have, you know, one-off products as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Chris, I thank you so much for your time. Do you have any final words for everybody listening and watching to the interview?
Oh, I don't have any final words except, you know, thanks for doing this, and I love what WishList is doing, so all the best to everyone's business.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Folks, if you have a chance, go grab the book. It's full of great examples of people who are starting businesses, who are getting going, are taking passions, they're combining it with usefulness, and they're providing tremendous value. And the great news is, I'm a testament to this. You could be anywhere in the world. You know, I live in a
small town.
In a like small town out in the middle.
6,000 people.
Exactly. As long as you got an internet, baby, that's all you need. And it's just a testament to the fact that the world is changing. And I was telling Chris off camera, you know, I'm passionate about this because, you know, my parents are wonderful people and they've worked their asses off their entire life, and they still do. And when I look at what kind of a life that we've been able to create as a result of the internet connection and being able to move forward, I mean, it boggles my mind and really humbles me to the fact that we can create this kind of lifestyle nowadays. And that's why I'm passionate about the book, Chris, and I thank you very much for coming. And where can people connect with you? Because I want to make sure that I know your blog obviously is one place at Chris Guillebeau, and theartofnonconformity.com.
Oh, those are good. 100startup.com is the book website.
Definitely. So 100startup.com. Anywhere else that you'd like to?
Anywhere on the internet, I'm around.
He's everywhere. So thank you very much, folks. Appreciate you, and look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.